My beautiful fellow Michigan State fans, they are not too confident in this defensive line room going into this fall, and I gotta say, I might agree with them. Oh no.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning into today's show of Locked On Spartans. It's your team in green and white 5 days a week right here on the wonderful Locked On Podcast Network. Please rate, review, subscribe. All that helps this show, but also, hey, help yourself. Let's get into the conversation. Comment below your thoughts, your confidence, your worries about this defensive line room heading into the 2025 season, because that's the first segment here. And then we are joined by Ben Stevens, a.k.a. Big Ten Ben. Yes, we talk some Michigan State football, but also we blow it out. To get you really excited for the whole football season, we talk about best Big Ten non-conference opponent, players that were sold on, teams that were not sold on. That's going to be a chat broken up into two shows here. So that is part one coming up after this first segment. Again, guys, talking about the defensive line room, because I moseyed on over to Twitter, where a lot of my Michigan State brethren are, and I tweeted out, as I will be doing every day the next 2 weeks, about different position groups. And the question was this: you are feeling blank about the defensive line room. And this is the interior, this is defensive end. We just put all four guys in the front, all in the same room here, defensive line room. The options were extremely confident, kind of worried, and extremely worried. Guys, nearly 75% of you are on the kind of worried or extremely worried side. Kind of worried was 53% of the vote. Extremely worried, 19% of the vote. Now, 25% of you are actually kind of confident in this room, which is great. And then 0.8% of you, which might be the parents' players at this point, they are extremely confident, which, hey, you know what? Maybe it's just all that positive aura that just farms up during the offseason. We're still all undefeated, right? Everyone's in a good mood right now. But yes, guys, about 3/4 of you are a little hesitant, if not very hesitant, to believe in this defensive line room. And I got to say, as optimistic as I've been, as cheery as I am, as excited as I am to see our boys take the field on August 29th and get this season started. God, even the off-season optimism, I can't blind me from the fact that this could be the weak link of the team. Hope I'm wrong. Hope it's a great unit, because it's definitely one of the most important position groups on the field, not just for Michigan State, but everywhere in college football. But before we get to, hey, you know, why we're a little bit concerned, is there reason to feel any optimism whatsoever? Let's start with the rosier conversation. Let's talk about the good news that has happened, whether it be from last season, new to this season, because it's not all horrible. Okay, so let's just talk about what's going good here. It's year 2 of Joe Rossi, your defensive coordinator. Leggy Sui Noah, the defensive line coach. Chad Wilt also gets a second year with these guys. More familiarity and comfort with the players, the coaches. Okay, that's not nothing. It sounds a little cliche and corny, but that's not nothing. Also, guys, last year, this team was 33rd in the nation at opponent yards per carry, and that wasn't facing some schlupped teams, you know? They're actually facing some pretty good opponents. They faced 7 of the Big Ten's top 9 rushing offenses, and yet they were still top 35 in the nation. They had a good run defense last year, okay? So it wasn't all horrible. Also, Michigan State's stuff rate. They were amongst the best in the nation last year. Now, stuff rate is the amount of times you're stopping your opponent at or behind the line of scrimmage. They were really strong nationally at limiting explosive run plays. And also, hey, they were middle of the pack in tackles for loss in the Big Ten. They had 66 of those. So I know I get the concerns with the pass rush, which we will, of course, get to. But just really quick, what else is going good for Michigan State here? Jalen Thompson returns. Okay, he had 11 quarterback hurries last year, and I know it's not a ton, but that's still his second most on the team. And actually today at Media Day, Joe Rossi, your defensive coordinator, talked about Jalen Thompson, that yes, he's going to be the classic defensive end, but they could line him up at the rush position. They might line him up in the interior. This former 4-star is going to have to be a star for Michigan State this year, and he's going to have no shortage of opportunity to do so. And the last bit of good news is that, guys, you get a clean slate at the edge position. which kind of funnels naturally into the bad news here because there's a reason you're going to have a clean slate at this edge position. It was not good last year at all. You know this. I know this. The players know it. The coaches know it. So, guys, it was a 6-game stretch without a sack last year. If you're not like a big X's and O's person, you don't really care for stats, I'll just tell you, that's not good at all. You also lose to Quan Dowse, Maverick Hansen on the inside. They were really two strong players last year. Chris Bogle, that's the guy that led the team with 13 quarterback hurries. He is no longer with the team, ran out of eligibility. And also, guys, yes, the run defense, it looked good. It all starts up front. But also, you do got to credit Cal Halliday for what he did in the run defense, and also Jordan Turner. They're gone. Like, they're not here either. So here we are, guys. Let's start with the interior. Okay, because the names that you know, Alex Van Sumeren comes back. Ben Roberts, Grady Kelly, Ruquan Buckley. Alex Van Sumeren, okay, this is his second full season coming up. All right, a lot of injury issues to start his career. Top recruit out of Michigan, great defensive line prospect. Going to have to see it materialize this year. And we'll give him that. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt that last year was his first full season playing college football. So Ben Roberts, former 4-star, just like Alex Van Sumeren, he had 128 snaps last season, 5th most on the team. His 4th year of college ball is coming up, and it is really just, to put it bluntly, put up or shut up time. It's not like he's running his mouth or anything, but if you're going to meet your 4-star ranking that you got out of high school, well, it's got to come soon this season. So outside of him, you got Ruquan Buckley. He had 8 stops in 88 run defensive snaps last season. That's actually amongst the best on the team last year. So you might be getting more Ruquan Buckley than you may have thought this season. But Grady Kelly is going to be the interesting interior defensive line prospect. Now, he comes in from Florida State. He was the 2nd highest graded run defender amongst the guys on that defensive line that got 100-plus snaps last year. And he got 11 stops on defense. Now, that is a Pro Football Focus stat. That really just lets you know that, yes, he disrupted a play. He stopped the play. Seems pretty obvious. Only Quan Dowse on Michigan State got more on the defensive line last year. So Florida State, not his only stop. He played at Colorado State in 2023, started all 12 games, graded well on Pro Football Focus. He was the 8th best defensive lineman in the Mountain West for that season. So there's your interior. I could very well see it being Grady Kelly, Alex Van Sumeren taking the field first with guys like we said, Ruquan Buckley, Ben Roberts right after him, and others, maybe Jalen Satchel, Mike Schunbeeler, keep an eye out for. And Derek Simmons, I think he's going to have a great career here. Still hard as a true freshman, but hey, if there's an opportunity to get on the field with a weak link position group, this might be the one. So I'm not just going to throw Derek Simmons' name out and say that, no, you'll never see him this year. So for the edge position, yeah, it's going to be Jalen Thompson, Quindarius Dunnigan, who's getting a lot of good praise so far for being quicker. He is trimmed down from last year because he was kind of that tweener, like too light to be an interior defensive lineman, a little too heavy to be on the edge. So now he's going to be just naturally suited on that defensive end position. But for the rest of the edge guys, here are your candidates. Here is who we're doing the hard reset with. It's Tyler Gillison. No action last year. He was injured the entire year. Prior to that, 10 games at Cincinnati, but still young, raw, really have not seen a lot of him. That is David Santiago, transfer from Air Force. Now, he had 23 pressures last year in the Mountain West, which was more than anyone on Michigan State had last year. He had an 8.6 win percentage against his guy, which isn't like great. It's solid, especially considering he's a redshirt freshman. Also would have been the best on the team last year outside of Anthony Jones. So, he might be the most talented guy already in the room. And he also, this is another fun stat that I like, he had 5 batted passes last year. Michigan State as a whole defensive line just had 1 the entire season. Now, it's not lost with me. That Big Ten play, a little different than Mountain West play, but still, hey, he's shown some competency as a redshirt freshman at Air Force, playing at a high usage clip too. Now, outside of him, Anelu Lafayette, this is his 2nd year of college, no snaps at Wisconsin last year, but a former 4-star, top 30 edge guy, number 3 rated kid out of the whole state of Hawaii. So it's we're going to get an answer here of, well, why didn't he play if he was, this such a good player and a 4-star prospect? But also, at the same time, it's just hard for a true freshman to find the field, no matter how maybe not great the program is doing over there. So hopefully, we get a diamond in the rough with Anelu Lafayette. Thanks, Wisconsin, hopefully. But outside of him, it's Cam Williams, a guy that, spot starter at Georgia State, Jacksonville State. I don't think he'll be like a day one high-impact starter, Isaac Smith. He had 1 sack last year for Texas Tech before he lost his starting role in the middle of the season. You got young guys, Kike Burnett, former walk-on Stone Chaney. But, yeah, out of anyone I just named, whether it's the edge, whether it's defensive end, whether it's the interior defensive lineman, who's getting the double teams? Like, who will other teams have to prioritize on this line? How is Michigan State going to get to the quarterback this year? How are they going to sustain what they did in the run defense from last season? Got to wait and see. But, yeah, I got to say, if I'm worried about anything on this team, it just might be the room we just spent some time talking about. Now, please prove me wrong. No one wants to be more wrong than yours truly right now. If this is going to be what has you guys motivated, if anyone's even listening in this room, which I highly doubt, but hey, you never know, please just prove me wrong, please. All right, guys, we're going to be back with our guy, Big Ten Ben, one of my favorite people of all time out there to talk college football with. But first, I need to talk your ears off about Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? Well, I know that I did until I found Monarch Money. It just can be simpler. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It is like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Now, Monarch Money, it's more than just a budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, spending in one convenient place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building your wealth. And it is so simple to use with a partner, guys. If you are married, if you're close to someone that you share a lot of your finances with, well, but put it all in just one easy window with Monarch Money. They make it so simple to collaborate on your finances. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Again, guys, monarchmoney.com. Yep, you guys are about to hear the one, the only iconic voice of one Big Ten Ben. And that means one thing, guys. The season's pretty much here. This is so awesome. I'm fired up right now. We're going to talk all things Big Ten. We're going to go through some superlatives. Best non-conference game of the year. Team everyone is too high on. Player to watch. All that good stuff across the conference. But as all things Big Ten are, it all starts in East Lansing, baby. That's right. The most important team in this blessed conference is your Michigan State Spartans. And Big Ten Ben, first of all, hey, thanks a lot for joining the show, man. Second of all, can you say, like, Michigan State's going to go to the college football playoff? Can you put your name attached to that? Or if you want to go the easier route, I guess just give me your thoughts heading into the season about Michigan State. Are you high on them? Are you on them? What do you got for us?
Two clippable pieces of content, Matt Sheehan, that you can use for your purposes however you feel fit. Jonathan Smith is going to lead the Michigan State Spartans to the college football playoff in 2025. More realistically, Jonathan Smith is going to lead the Michigan State Spartans to at least 6 wins, cashing a bet for myself and many others of over 5.5 that was placed back in early May. So that is what I'm expecting out of MSU. A couple of the questions, just, peeling the curtain back, letting the people know that you sent to me about Big Ten superlatives that we'll dive into. One of them was the team I'm most uncertain about, kind of could go whichever way. And I think the team that resides in East Lansing fits that bill. So I hope you enlighten me as well. But I do think the floor of bowl eligibility is very realistic this year for the Spartans.
That is what I'm about to say is ridiculous. Because I talk about this team 5 days a week. I have throughout the entire offseason, all the dog days, the ups and downs, and I should have concrete takeaways, and I do. Like, I think the offense has definitely reason to believe they can be better. They can score more than 20 points per game for the first time in 3 seasons, Ben. Like, it's great. That's only one side of the ball, though. The opposite side of the ball, the defense does have a lot of question marks here. There was no pass rush last year. Did they do enough in the portal this offseason to mitigate the damage there? I don't know, Big Ten, Ben. This is going to be a problem. They got to replace 2 linebackers that were experienced last year. Their cornerbacks are entirely all from the FCS level, from independent ball levels like UConn. There are question marks. So, it's ridiculous. The guy that's supposed to be Mr. Green and White and knower of all things Michigan State, I'm not going to sit here and argue like, oh, how could you not have any idea about the Spartans? Especially with this tough schedule they have. So that's not the answer I have for that superlative, but my God, they're on the podium for first, second, or third place. It's going to be not weird, interesting year here in East Lansing. So I don't know. It's just, any way you can get to 6 wins. I know it's underwhelming. I know that is keeping expectations on the ground.
Right.
But it really seems important to get to 6 wins this year before, you fall any further behind in a Big Ten, in a college landscape that seems to be ever-changing.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of that, of course, is going to rely on Aiden Childs. What is Aiden Childs going to do this year in his development to be not only positive, which we have seen oftentimes, but consistent and eliminate the negatives that, as we all know, were incredibly head-scratching and floundering last year. I believe in Jonathan Smith. I've seen a lot of Jonathan Smith through Washington, leading his program back in Corvallis with Oregon State. I think Jonathan Smith is doing the right things, building this team and program in a direction in East Lansing that should only be positive and feeling good about. I think it's an interesting thing, though, across the Big Ten landscape in college football, with the realigned conferences we have, with the expanded CFP and the expanded slates that we know, that your 9-game conference slate, sans divisions, is going to be difficult each and every year. So wins getting stacked up is not necessarily always, at least in my estimation, going to be the truest tell of success. How competitive are you? How do you look in those games, even against the top flight of the conference? Realistically, you're not going to win. Can you play spoiler? Perhaps. Can you keep the game close and tightly contested? That is a sign. That is what I think we see from Michigan State. And Matt, to your point, really has to be kind of on both sides of the offensive and defensive line this year. That will allow me, because that's what Jonathan Smith did so well during his time with the Beavs in Corvallis, that will allow me to be confident. Again, 6 wins with Aiden Childs performing in a positive way and getting rid of some of those turnovers that plagued the team and the offense and the quarterback play as a whole, for sure. But when you have Nick Marsh, who I think is a top 3, top 5 wide receiver in the Big Ten this upcoming season, there's a lot to like.
God, that's what I'm talking about. So, look, I'm excited for the Big Ten season. I was going to talk about it, just, hey, list my favorite things for this upcoming year, but it would be ridiculous just for me to do it. So we got the de facto mascot of the Big Ten Conference, yourself, Ben, to go through some superlatives here, because to get everyone else revved up for the season that's going to start in less than 4 weeks now, because there's no Big Ten games in week 0, unfortunately. Maybe one day we'll get back to that, but for now, we got to wait nearly 4 weeks. But let's start with best non-conference Big Ten game. There is one glaringly obvious one, and it is Michigan State against Youngstown State. Like, that's going to be all eyeballs descending on East Lansing for that one. There will be the first ever opening week 1 versus 2 matchup, Ohio State versus Texas. Coaches poll just came out on Monday, so that's going to be the obvious one, of course. If you want that to be your answer, who on earth is going to argue that if you have a close silver medalist? Willing to hear it, because I got one that's a little bit of a cheeky one. But Ben, I want to hear what you got to say about your best non-conference Big Ten game coming up.
The obvious answer, of course, is the CFP semifinal rematch. As you alluded to, the coaches poll out this week. I expect the AP poll to look rather similar. I would be surprised if Ohio State and Texas were not at least 2 of the top 3, if not 1, 2, to have that distinction of the first ever 1 versus 2 game in week 0. Or week 1, excuse me. That, of course, is going to be the answer each and every time. Fascinating game, because Texas is our national championship favorite, and yet a slight road underdog because they are playing in Columbus with Ohio State, the reigning national champs, breaking in a new quarterback, more than likely in Julian Sayin. And Arch Manning is still a relatively new quarterback, but is, of course, the Heisman Trophy favorite as well. Where I love Texas defensively this year, super, super good. Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill Jr., the linebacker, Michael Taffy. The Texas defense has been top 10 in scoring defense last 2 years. That's where I think Texas wins the SEC this year and goes beyond. But, of course, that is the obvious answer. So a couple of runner-ups, and really all around that week, too. Saturday slate, Saturday, September 6th, that does feature a beautiful game in East Lansing between Michigan State and Boston College. Fascinating game. Would really love to see what Bill O'Brien does in year number 2. Dylan Lonergan, who's the quarterback transfer from Alabama that Bob knows very well. What does that look like against an MSU team playing an ACC foe, Power 4 competition, kind of getting some of that base level understanding of where this team is going to be the remainder of the way? For me, though, I think the game that is not Texas-Ohio State, best non-conference game in reality, is Michigan-Oklahoma, primetime, ABC, week number 2. Sharon Moore not going to be there against his alma mater in Norman. I'm incredibly high on Oklahoma this year. I think John Mateer coming over to Norman with his OC and Ben Arbuckle, who's an offensive whiz. I think he's 29 if he turned 30 at some point this offseason. Still incredibly young and talented. Yeah. Oklahoma has a brutal schedule, as many do in the SEC. Oklahoma, to me, though, bet the over 6.5. It's now like over 6.5 minus 200. I think the Sooners could be a sneaky 8-9 win team. And if you're approaching 9 wins with Oklahoma's gauntlet in the SEC, that's a college football playoff contender.
Certainly.
Matt Sheehan, I say this here and I say this right now. If Michigan does not win 9 games this year, Sherrod Moore should be fired. That's as simple as it can be.
I kind of like him sticking around, though. I don't know. I kind of like him over there.
Depends on.
I know he got us the first year. I'm 100%. But, I don't know. I want to see this play out for the next few years.
This team should be really good defensively. Everything is going to ride on Bryce Underwood. We understand. But if you're a $12 million man that Larry Ellison wants to buy for his new bow, then you better be as good as advertised, or at least above average as a true freshman in Ann Arbor. Their schedule is so ridiculously easy, outside of the obviously road trip to Norman, that when you look up and down the slate outside of the game in week number 2 against OU, if you don't stumble your way to 9 wins, you have done a poor job. And again, if you are a 9-3 team in either the Big Ten or the SEC, you will always be an at-large consideration for a college football playoff berth. So Michigan, Oklahoma in Norman, prime time, week number 2 is my second best non-conference game, obviously behind the de facto winner of Ohio State and Texas. But I think it will prove a lot for Michigan in that week 2 game to see how good they are. Maybe not just the beneficiary of a very weak Big Ten conference slate.
Mm-hmm. And for the bronze medalist here, because, Wolverines at Sooners, that's going to be a great one.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go Wisconsin at Alabama. Okay, fine. Those are 2 names that that's fun. Utah, UCLA, 11 p.m. week 1. That's going to hit like crack. That's going to be an awesome one. But this one, this is maybe kind of a cheeky answer, but Illinois at Duke. I'm actually very fascinated with because Texas, Ohio State, awesome game, no question. That will be the best game, but loser of that game still has a very realistic shot to the college football playoff. Whereas Illinois, if they lose that game to a solid Duke team, of course, that is going to be a big ding on their college football playoff resume. A resume that a lot of analysts have as hey, this is the fun team that's going to surprise and make it in the 12-team field. I think it's going to be a nice game to watch. Illinois at Duke. It's not one that screams college football blue bloods. This would be an amazing basketball game. It was last year, actually, for an Illini basketball hater like myself. That was a lot of fun.
I was going to say.
But, hey, we'll see on the football field because, oddly enough, as much as I don't like their basketball team, I actually am quite fond of their football team. Riddle me how that works, whatever it is. But Illinois at Duke week 2, don't sleep on that one, guys. Speaking of not sleeping, who's the under-the-radar team in this conference, Ben? Because I don't know. Actually, I got one team written down, and it's a stupid one. But do you have an under-the-radar team that everyone's sleeping on here?
Well, this is why you're a pro's pro, right? I think under the radar back in February, I could have said Illinois. Now they are so under the radar, over the radar, that they're not really under the radar any longer. If they get to a level that I believe they can, which is 10 wins for the 6th time in program history, and they did it for the first time since 2001 last year under Brett Bielema, we're talking college football playoff Illinois, right? Who could be the Indiana of 2025? It's Illinois. They are freakishly talented. They return so much of that. I actually think Luke Altmaier is the best quarterback in the conference. You've seen a lot of Big Ten quarterback power rankings, and people give Drew Aller the nod.
Sure.
Buddy, we've all watched Drew Aller play top 5 competition where Luke Altmaier, as an underdog, against those teams, if you want a late game drive, 3 minutes or less, I'm going to trust Altmaier a lot more than I'm going to trust Aller entering 2025. And then they bring back J.C. Davis, and they bring back a defense that's going to be sick. They have the 4th most returning production in college football. Gabe Akis, the edge rusher, as good as you'll find. First team All-Big Ten, first team All-American candidate. Xavier Scott, a guy that takes the ball better, takes away the ball better than anybody in the conference, maybe outside of Corey Parrish, is going to be that guy to watch for Illinois. So they were my under-the-radar team. I bet them over 7.5. Their updated win total is now 8.5. The under has the juice. I bet them at plus 540 to reach the college football playoff. But they are so publicly under the radar that I wonder if you can consider them under the radar. So quickly, I will offer up this other team. Minnesota.
I like that.
Just rows the boat constantly year in, year out. They won 8 games last year, right? Won the Duke's Mayo Bowl. All this team does when they get to bowl games, they win them. 8 consecutive bowl wins, by the way, for the Golden Gophers. Under PJ Fleck, they have won 8+ games 3 of the last 4 years. In the 7 full seasons under Fleck in the Twin Cities, they have reached bowl eligibility 6 of those 7 years. A lot of it rides on the quarterback, Drake Lindsey, who is a 6'4 stud out of Arkansas from Fayetteville, who the Hogs pursued heavily late. And Fleck said a lot of nice things about Drake Lindsey's evolution development already for a redshirt freshman who got some reps last year, of course, as well. And they're going to be good on the ground. Darius Taylor, if he can remain healthy, certainly in consideration for all Big Ten honors at the running back spot. And they bring a transfer from Marshall and A.J. Turner, who can kind of be that complement, had more than 850 yards on the ground last year. Really good Marshall running back room under Charles Huff, who's now at Southern Miss. I think Minnesota's a team that probably just going to plod along to 7, 8, maybe even 9 wins as they always do. And we'll be like, oh, another successful year for Fleck in the Twin Cities.
Sure.
Go ahead.
I'm drawing this out because it's time to confess, like, my under the radar team. And if you listen to the episode last month where we did some over-unders, I probably know where I'm going to go with this, guys. This is one thing, like, I just don't like about myself. I can't quit Nebraska.
No, you can't.
I can, like, every single God-forsaken year, I come crawling back like the stooge that I am, and I believe in the hype out of Husker Nation. Yeah. Every single year they give me a reason to, hey, make sure that I don't do this again the same offseason. But here I am. Ben, we're here.
Yeah.
This team's winning 9 games. This team's winning 9 games. I don't, like, that's just what they're going to do. Again, we've had many conversations to the point where, yes, we've never met in person, but I feel like we're good friends, Ben. You can use whatever language you want to talk me off of this. You can insult me. I don't care, because sometimes tough love is what is needed. I'm going Nebraska, though, because I don't know any better. I'm so stupid. I'm so dumb. Oh, listen, I love it.
If we're riding a motorcycle off a cliff trying to be Evel Knievel, I'm in the sidecar right next to you, because I have also bet the over of Nebraska's win total. They're going over 7.5. Oh, boy. Could we get 9-10? Could this be year 3 Matt Rule to a T in its biggest stage ever in Lincoln?
So. I think so.
Me too, man. Listen, we've done the same thing for years now. For so many reasons, you highlight this, that, or the other for why this year, why this offseason in Lincoln, the optimism is going to be realized. The hype is going to be actualized. If I can just point to Matt Rule and what he has done throughout every stop, where he has taken over much worse programs than Nebraska at Temple, and where Baylor was after we know the whole situation, and what he has done there in the immediate turnaround into year 3. What he can do at Nebraska, getting them to a bowl game, getting that large monkey off their back. And I think we saw it with Dana Holgorsen, who's one of the brightest offensive minds in the last 2 decades in college football. I don't really think that is much up for debate. If Dylan Raiola is comfortable in that system now, right, you have some very talented playmakers there with him, and Ja'Cory Barnett, the transfer from Kentucky, and Dane Key. They've got some really talented pieces, Emmett Johnson. And where I think Nebraska probably has more actualized hype is up front. I do think that offensive line is going to be to an area that we haven't seen for the Huskers in quite some time. So, again, man, you've been losing bets constantly. You've been betting the over on the win total. You've been losing your confidence in the idea that they can get it done and turn around 1-score games and get all of these demons and curses away from them. And they very well could rear their ugly head this year. But the schedule is favorable by the win totals of projected opponents, 4th easiest in the Big Ten. If there was ever a recipe for success, which I'm sure I said in 2019 and 2022 and 2024, this would be it for Nebraska.
It's everything that I've said. You just hit on right there. It's Holgorsen. It's Matt Rule year 3. It's also what they did in the portal, getting Dane Key, some other good receivers, loading up front on the offensive line. I got a twinkle in my eye. Like, I'm the guy. I know. Like, I'm the guy at the blackjack table that just saw a dealer flip over 21 9 times in a row, and I'm saying, ain't gonna happen 10 times in a row. Like, let's just go all the way in again. So I can't wait to get my head chopped off when I go for that cheese again this season. As they lose week 1 to Cincinnati, that's gonna be a great one.
That's gonna hurt, man. That's gonna hurt if that happens.
At least I know.